I never told my son I'd hand him my life's work on a silver platter. But apparently, that's what he expected. What he demanded, actually. And when I didn't comply, well, let's just say I learned exactly who I'd raised over the past 34 years. My name's William Bradford, and at 63, I thought I had life pretty well figured out. Built a commercial real estate company from nothing, started in 1989 with a single duplex in Mississauga, and turned it into a portfolio worth just over $42 million. Not bad for a kid who grew up in a Toronto public housing project, right? I married young, too young, probably. Catherine and I met at university. She was studying literature. I was in business. We had our son, Derek, when we were both 29. 3 years later, our daughter Olivia came along. Catherine stayed home with the kids while I built the business. 80-hour weeks, missed birthdays, the whole cliché. I won't pretend I was father of the year, but I provided. God, did I provide? Derek grew up with everything I didn't have. Private school, hockey equipment that cost more than my first car, summer camps in Muskoka, a BMW for his 16th birthday. I still remember the look on his face, like it was expected, not a gift. Maybe that should have been my first clue. He went to Western for business, then did an MBA at Queen's. Smart kid, charismatic, even. After graduation, he started 3 different ventures. A tech startup that burned through $500,000 of investor money. A craft brewery that never made it past the planning stage. Some kind of app for real estate, ironic, considering what I did for a living. Each one failed within 18 months. Each time, he'd call me. Dad, I just need a bridge loan. Dad, if you could just connect me with some of your contacts. Dad, this one's different, I promise. And like an idiot, I helped. Not with my business, I kept that separate, but with introductions, advice, small amounts of capital. I told myself I was teaching him resilience, building character, all that father-son stuff you tell yourself when you're enabling someone. Olivia, meanwhile, took a different path. Went to Ryerson for accounting, graduated with honors, got her CPA, started at KPMG, then moved to a smaller firm where she made partner at 33. Married a good man, Thomas, a civil engineer. They bought a modest house in Etobicoke, had 2 kids, lived within their means. She'd call me too, but it was different. Hey Dad, just checking in. How's Mom? How's business? Never asking for anything. I probably should have paid more attention to that. Now, Olivia had been helping me with the company books for about 5 years, just on the side, reviewing quarterly statements, keeping things organized. She never wanted payment, but I insisted. Paid her a fair consulting rate. She was good, detailed, found inefficiencies I'd have never spotted. Derek knew this, and I think it bothered him more than he let on. 2 years ago, I started thinking about retirement. Not full retirement, I'd probably die of boredom, but stepping back. I was 61, Catherine was 58, and we'd been talking about spending winters in Victoria, maybe doing some traveling. I'd earned it, right? I mentioned this at a family dinner, just casually. Thinking about slowing down a bit, I said, cutting into my steak. Derek's head snapped up so fast I heard his neck crack. What does that mean for the company? I should have read the room then. Catherine's hand tightened on her wine glass. Olivia's eyes dropped to her plate. But I was naive, still living in some fantasy where my family cared about me and not just what I represented. Means I'll probably sell, I said, or find someone to run day-to-day operations while I stay on as an advisor. Sell? Derek's voice went up an octave. You can't sell. This is a family business. I almost laughed. Son, you've never worked a single day in this company. How exactly is it a family business? Because I'm your son. He threw his napkin on the table. Because I've been waiting for you to bring me on board for years. Catherine jumped in, then she always did when Derek got upset. William, you never even offered him a position. How was he supposed to know? I looked at my wife, really looked at her. When had she started seeing me as the problem? Catherine, I said slowly, Derek has no experience in commercial real estate. He's failed at 3 different ventures. Why would I jeopardize everything I've built? Because he's your legacy. She was almost shouting now. Because blood matters more than business. Olivia cleared her throat. Actually, Dad offered me a junior position 6 years ago. I turned it down because I wanted to build my own career. The silence that followed could have frozen Lake Ontario in July. Derek turned on his sister. Oh, of course you did. Perfect, Olivia. Too good for Dad's help. Unlike me, right? The family disappointment? That's not what I said, Olivia replied quietly. But it's what you meant. Derek stood up, shoving his chair back. You know what? Forget it. Dad, when you're ready to talk about succession like an adult, call me. Until then, enjoy your consulting fees with the golden child. He left. Catherine followed him. Thomas excused himself to check on the kids in the other room. It was just me and Olivia at that big dining table, the roast chicken getting cold between us. Dad, she said carefully, you know he's going to push this, right? Let him push. I was angry now. I built this company with my bare hands. Nobody tells me what to do with it. She nodded, but she looked worried. Just be careful. Derek's been talking to some of your competitors. I've heard things. I should have listened to her. 3 months later, Derek called me, asked if we could meet for lunch, just the two of us. Man to man, he said. I thought maybe he'd calm down, wanted to apologize. Yeah, I was that stupid. We met at a steakhouse in downtown Toronto, one of those places with leather booths and dim lighting where business deals happen. Derek showed up in a suit. That should have been my second clue. My son never wore suits. He didn't even wait for the menus. Dad, I've been doing a lot of thinking, he started. And I've talked to some people, lawyers, business advisors. I think we need to discuss ownership structure. Ownership structure, I repeated. Of my company. Our company, he corrected. I know it's legally yours, but morally, Dad, I'm your son. I'm entitled to at least 50% when you retire. I set down my water glass very carefully. Entitled? Yes, entitled. He leaned forward, and I swear to God, he had this look on his face like he was doing me a favor by explaining basic math to a child. You're 63. You've had your run. Now it's my turn. This is how families work. You pass things down. Derek, you have no idea how to run a commercial real estate company. Then teach me. Bring me on as co-president. We'll transition over 2 years. By the time you're 65, I'll be ready to take over completely. He pulled out a folder. He'd actually brought a folder to lunch and slid it across the table. I had my lawyer draw up a proposal. Very fair, very reasonable. 50-50 split now, then full control transfers to me at your retirement. You'll get a consulting fee, of course, $200,000 a year. I looked at the papers, didn't even pick them up, just looked at them sitting there between the salt and pepper shakers. $200,000, I said softly, as a consulting fee. For the company I built, that generates $7 million a year in revenue. Well, you won't need much in retirement, right? You and Mom will have the house paid off, your pensions, some savings. Derek. I cut him off. The answer is no. His jaw tightened. Dad, be reasonable. No. I stood up. I'm being perfectly reasonable. You want to earn this company? Start at the bottom. Learn property management. Understand tenant relations, building codes, financing structures. Put in 10 years, prove yourself, and maybe we'll talk about a partnership. 10 years? He laughed. It wasn't a nice laugh. I'll be 44. Dad, this is insulting. I'm your son. I shouldn't have to prove anything. Then we have nothing more to discuss. I left him there with his lawyer-drafted proposal and his entitlement. Drove back to the office with my hands shaking on the steering wheel. Called Olivia from the parking lot. He just tried to take the company, I told her. Brought papers and everything. Dad, I'm so sorry. What are you going to do? Good question. What was I going to do? That night, Catherine was waiting for me at home. She'd talked to Derek, of course she had. They'd probably been on the phone before I even made it to the 401. You embarrassed him, she said. No hello, no how was your day, just accusation. I embarrassed him? Catherine, he tried to steal my company. He's trying to secure his future. William, you're being cruel. This is your son we're talking about. I stared at my wife of 34 years. And what about your daughter? Olivia's been helping me for years, never asked for anything. If anyone deserves a stake in this company, it's her. Olivia has her own career. She doesn't need you. Catherine's voice went cold. But Derek does. And if you can't see that, if you're going to choose business over your own child, then maybe I've been married to a stranger all these years. That's when I knew. This wasn't just Derek being entitled. This was both of them. Catherine had been enabling this for 3 decades, and I'd been too busy building a life for them to notice. I moved into the guest room that night. Started sleeping there regularly. Catherine and I barely spoke except when necessary. Meanwhile, Derek started a campaign. He called my business partners, told them I was losing my edge, getting senile, that the company needed young leadership. He reached out to my biggest clients, hinting that management was about to change, and they should prepare for a transition. He even, and this one impressed me with its audacity, he even contacted the Ontario Securities Commission claiming I was mismanaging company funds. That investigation took 3 months and cost me $80,000 in legal fees. They found nothing because there was nothing to find. But the damage was done. Rumors spread. People started looking at me differently. Olivia came to my office one afternoon in March. It was snowing outside, that wet, heavy snow that makes Toronto miserable. She closed the door behind her. "Dad, we need to talk about the Q4 financials." I looked up from my computer. "Problem? Not with the books. But I've been reviewing wire transfers from the operating account. There's a pattern of small withdrawals over the past 2 years, always under 10,000, always labeled as consulting fees or contractor payments. But when I cross-referenced with actual contracted work, she slid a printout across my desk. They don't match." I scanned the document. My stomach dropped. "How much total?" $237,000. I closed my eyes. "Catherine, I think so. The withdrawals started around the time Derek launched his last venture, the app thing. So my wife had been embezzling from my company to fund our son's failed business dreams. And I'd been so buried in work, so trusting, that I never even noticed." "What do you want to do?" Olivia asked quietly. I thought about it for a long time. Thought about 34 years of marriage. Thought about family dinners and Christmas mornings and the way Catherine used to laugh at my terrible jokes. Thought about the life we'd built. Then I thought about Derek's face across that restaurant table. The entitlement. The audacity. The complete lack of appreciation for anything I'd done. "I want to see exactly where we stand," I said. "Every asset, every liability, every shared account. I want to know what divorce would look like." Olivia nodded. "I'll help." Over the next 6 weeks, we compiled everything. The house in Oakville mortgage paid off, worth about $2 million. The cottage in Muskoka mine before the marriage. But Catherine's name got added 10 years ago. RRSPs, TFSAs, investment accounts. My company, of course, which was the big one. We also documented every dollar I'd spent on Derek over the years. Every loan that never got repaid. Every failed business I'd funded. The BMW, the condo downtown I'd co-signed for when he was 25, the country club membership, private school tuition, university, his MBA. Total, just over $1.3 million. For Olivia, by comparison, university tuition, which she'd paid half of through scholarships and part-time work. Her wedding, which I'd contributed $20,000 toward, maybe another $30,000 in various gifts and help over the years. The disparity was staggering, and yet Derek was the one claiming I'd never supported him. I was sitting in my office going over these numbers for probably the 10th time when Derek walked in. No appointment, no warning, just barged past my assistant like he owned the place. "We need to talk," he announced. "Call and make an appointment like everyone else." "I'm not everyone else. I'm your son." He sat down across from me. "Dad, this has gone on long enough. Mom's miserable. You're making everyone miserable. Just sign the papers." "What papers?" He pulled out another folder. "Revised proposal. 60-40 split in your favor until you turn 65. Then I take over completely." "Mom thinks it's more than fair." "Mom thinks." I laughed. It came out bitter. "Let me guess she helped you draft this? She knows you're being unreasonable." "Dad, I've been networking. I've got investors ready to expand the portfolio. I've got connections you don't have. Young connections. This company could double in value under my leadership." "Based on what track record? Exactly?" His face flushed. "Based on my vision. Based on the fact that I understand modern business in a way your generation just doesn't. You're stuck in the 80s, Dad. The world's moved on. I should have thrown him out. Should have called security. Instead, I asked a question. Derek, do you know how I started this company?" He rolled his eyes. Yeah, the duplex story. We've all heard it. Humor me." I leaned back in my chair. "I bought that duplex with every cent I had. $50,000 down payment took me 7 years to save. Lived in one unit, rented out the other. Fixed broken toilets at midnight. Dealt with tenants who didn't pay rent. Learned building codes from library books because I couldn't afford courses. Different era, he muttered. You're right. It was different. Harder, in some ways. Easier, in others. But here's the thing. Son, I built something from nothing. Every property in this portfolio I acquired through careful planning, strategic risk, and backbreaking work. This company is $42 million of my life. My sweat, my sacrifices. And I'm asking you to share it with your own child. No, I stood up. You're demanding I hand it over to someone who's never built anything that lasted. Someone who thinks success is owed, not earned. Someone who sent my wife to embezzle from company accounts to fund his failures. The room went very quiet. Derek's face went white, then red. That's Mom was just helping. Your mother stole $237,000 from this company. That's a criminal offense. I could have her arrested. You wouldn't I? I walked around the desk. Derek, you've spent your entire adult life taking from me. Money, connections, time, patience. And not once, not one single time have you said thank you. Not once have you acknowledged that maybe, just maybe, you're not entitled to the fruits of someone else's labor just because you share their DNA. I'm your son, and that should mean something. I was shouting now, 34 years of frustration coming out. It should mean you respect me enough not to steal from me. It should mean you value our relationship more than my bank account. But you don't. You never have. To you, I'm just a resource to be exploited. He stood there, mouth opening and closing like a fish. Finally, Mom's going to leave you. Let her. Olivia won't take your side. Olivia already knows everything. She's the one who found the embezzlement. That got him. His eyes went wide. Olivia, you told her? You brought her into this? She's my accountant. It's literally her job. I walked to the door, opened it. Get out of my office, and don't come back unless you're ready to apologize and start over from the bottom. You'll regret this, he said, grabbing his folder. When you're old and alone, you'll regret choosing money over family. Derek. I waited until he looked at me. I'm not choosing money over family. I'm choosing self-respect over entitlement. There's a difference. He left, slammed the door hard enough that pictures rattled on the walls. That night, I went home and told Catherine I wanted a divorce. She screamed, she cried, she threatened, told me I was destroying the family, that I'd regret this, that Derek was right about me being a selfish old man who cared more about business than his own flesh and blood. I listened to all of it. Then I handed her a folder of my own. Divorce papers, I said. I'm filing tomorrow. The house is marital property, so we'll split that. RRSPs will be divided according to law. But the company stays mine. It was mine before we married. It's mine now. You can't do this. I can. I am. I picked up the overnight bag I'd already packed. I've rented an apartment downtown. My lawyer will be in touch. William, please. Her voice broke. Don't do this. We can work through this. Derek will apologize. He just needs time. Catherine, you stole from me. You enabled our son to treat me like an ATM. You chose his delusion over our marriage. I looked at her, really looked at her one last time. I loved you. For 34 years, I loved you. But I won't let you destroy what I built. Not for Derek. Not for anyone. I left. Didn't look back. The divorce took 8 months. Catherine fought for a share of the company, but her lawyer couldn't make it stick. I had an ironclad prenup, and the embezzlement gave me leverage. She got the house, half the investments, her portion of retirement accounts. Fair, according to Ontario law. Derek tried to interfere, of course, showed up at court dates, sent me threatening emails. At one point, he actually tried to rally my employees against me, claiming I was an unfit leader who needed to be removed. That backfired spectacularly when my entire management team signed a letter supporting me. Turns out loyalty is earned, not demanded. During all this, Olivia was my rock. She handled the finances, kept the company running, dealt with lawyers, never complained, never asked for special treatment. One night, about 6 months into the divorce proceedings, we were in my apartment going over paperwork. It was late, maybe 10:30. I'd ordered pizza. We were both exhausted. Dad, she said, setting down her pen, can I ask you something? Always. Are you okay? Like, really okay? This has to be destroying you. I thought about it. Thought about sleepless nights and stress and the way my chest hurt sometimes when I thought about how completely my family had fallen apart. I'm hurt, I admitted, but I'm also relieved. Does that make sense? Like I've been carrying this weight for so long, and I didn't realize how heavy it was until I put it down. She nodded. I get that. And Dad, for what it's worth, I'm proud of you. Standing up for yourself like this, it takes courage. You think I'm being cruel? Throwing away my family? I think you're protecting yourself from people who were taking advantage. She reached across the table, squeezed my hand. Family isn't supposed to hurt you, Dad. Real family, real love. It doesn't come with conditions and demands. It just is. That conversation stayed with me. The divorce finalized in November. Cold day, appropriately enough. Catherine got the house. I got my freedom. Derek sent me one final email. Hope you enjoy your money, Dad. Hope it keeps you warm when you're dying alone. I deleted it. Blocked his address. Moved on. But I wasn't done yet. There was one more thing I needed to do. I called a company-wide meeting. Every employee, every manager, every person who'd stuck with me through the chaos. Rented out a conference room at a hotel. Had it catered properly. Stood up in front of everyone and told them the truth. Not all of it, they didn't need the ugly details, but enough. Told them I'd been going through a difficult family situation. Told them I appreciated their loyalty and discretion. Told them that moving forward, things were going to change. Then I announced that I was promoting my CFO to CEO. I'd stay on as chairman, but day-to-day operations would transition to someone who'd been with the company for 15 years and actually knew what they were doing. And I announced that I was creating an employee profit-sharing program. 10% of annual profits would be distributed among staff based on tenure and performance. You could have heard a pin drop. Then someone started clapping. Then everyone was clapping, and I'm not ashamed to say I got a little choked up. After the meeting, Olivia found me in the parking lot. That was a good thing you did in there. Felt right. I unlocked my car. These people were loyal when they didn't have to be. When my own family wasn't. They deserved to share in the success. So what now? She asked. You're 64, semi-retired, divorced. What does William Bradford do next? I thought about it. You know, I've always wanted to learn woodworking. Maybe take up golf, even though I've always thought it was a pretentious sport. Travel a bit. Actually enjoy the money I've been hoarding. Sounds nice. Yeah, I smiled. It does. She hugged me then. Right there in the parking lot. My daughter hugged me, and I realized that I hadn't lost my family. I'd just lost the toxic parts of it. The part that mattered, the love, the respect, the genuine connection that was still here. That was 6 months ago. Since then, I've taken up woodworking. Made a bookshelf that's only slightly crooked. Joined a golf club and discovered I'm terrible at it. But it's kind of fun being terrible at something with no stakes. Went to Scotland for 3 weeks, always wanted to see the Highlands. Planning a trip to New Zealand next spring. The company's doing well. Better, actually, without me micromanaging everything. The profit-sharing program has boosted morale significantly. Retention's up. We just acquired 2 new properties in Mississauga. I see Olivia and her family every Sunday for dinner. My grandkids call me Papa. We play board games and watch movies and just exist together without drama or demands or ulterior motives. Catherine and Derek, I heard, moved in together. She's supporting him while he works on yet another business venture, some kind of cryptocurrency thing. I wish them well. I mean it, mostly. They're not my problem anymore. Sometimes late at night, I think about what Derek said, about dying alone, about whether I'll regret this when I'm old and need family around me. But here's what I've learned. Being alone and being lonely are different things. I'd rather be alone with my integrity than surrounded by people who only value what I can give them. And I'm not even alone. I've got Olivia. I've got 2 grandkids who actually like spending time with me. I've got employees who respect me. I've got friends I've been neglecting for years who are delighted to have me back in their lives. I've got myself. And after 64 years of trying to prove my worth through providing, through building, through sacrificing, I've finally learned that I'm enough, just as I am. My value isn't in my bank account or my property portfolio or what I can do for others. It's just in being William Bradford, flawed, imperfect, but finally free. Would I change anything if I could go back? I don't know. Maybe I'd have set boundaries sooner. Maybe I'd have paid more attention to who my son was becoming instead of who I hoped he'd be. Maybe I'd have noticed Catherine's resentment building before it became embezzlement. But I can't change the past. All I can do is move forward, build a different kind of life, one where relationships are based on mutual respect, not financial obligation, where love is freely given, not leveraged for gain. Derek may never understand that. Catherine may never forgive me for choosing myself. And honestly, that's okay. Their understanding, their forgiveness, it's not required for me to live well. The only person's approval I need is my own. And for the first time in my life, I actually have it. So no, Derek, I don't regret choosing money over family, because that's not what I chose at all. I chose dignity over manipulation, self-respect over guilt, genuine connection over obligation. I chose myself. And that, I'm learning, is the best choice I ever made. Here's what I'd tell anyone facing something similar. Your worth isn't determined by what you can provide. Your family's love shouldn't come with invoices attached. And walking away from toxicity, even when it wears a familiar face, isn't selfish. It's survival. Set boundaries. Demand respect. Know your value. And never, ever let anyone convince you that protecting yourself makes you the villain. Because at the end of the day, the only person who has to live with your choices is you. Make sure they're choices you can be proud of.